Hi, welcome to another edition of Fly Tying, the Angler's Art. I'm Carolyn Sells, this is LeRoy Hyatt, and today we're going to be tying the Royal Coyote. We're going to tie a Damsel fly nymph and a bunny spade steelhead fly.
Steelhead fly,
and
fun
LeRoy's
fly.
going to do the
Royal Coyote.
Okay.
I'll use a size 10 dry fly hook. I'll use an 8/0 black tying thread. The tail will be the golden pheasant tippet. The body will be both peacock and the red stretch floss. Underwing will be white calftail. Overwing is deer hair, and the hackle will be brown. I pinched the barb on the hook. I'll get this started. This fly, there is a fly out there called the Coyote. In fact, we have done that fly on this show previously. And we were coming back one time from a fishing trip in Montana. We had caught a lot of fish on that coyote. And somebody says, well, let's come up with a Royal Coyote. So driving down the road, this is what we hatched up in our mind. Somebody came home and tied it, and it's stuck ever since.
But how'd they come up with the original name
The
Coyote?
original name, it came from an older guy in Montana, worked for the Forest Service. I was teaching a fly tying class, and one of the students, this was his granddad that had come up with this fly, and he brought it to class and showed us. And in my opinion, anything that's red is going to catch cutthroat. Yeah. Anything. All right. The butt section is going to be tied with peacock herl. I'll just grab, I've got 4 or 5 in here, I guess. I'll cut those bottoms off. I'll clip the tips, and I tie mine in by the tips. Now, I know you do yours by the butt, but I do it the opposite. And then I wrap it around the tying thread. It's just making a little peacock chenille rope, if you will.
I like that trick. Yeah,
well, what happens is if your fish gets a tooth in that peacock herl, it won't break it. I mean, it might break it, but it won't come unwrapped.
Right.
Now I'm going to run my tying thread forward just slightly. I'm going to take this stretchy floss, and I'm just going to grab it and tie it in. I don't care how long it is, then I'll just pull it through. That saves me a step of not having to cut it. Get it all bound down. Oh, I won't spin it with my rotary. Just take this and build yourself a little red center. Now, where this came from originally of course, would be the Royal Wolf.
Right.
We're just changing the body material a little bit. But it is unbelievably good fly some days for cutthroat trout. And like I said, I'm a firm believer in red for cutthroat. I don't know that you could go wrong with anything red for cutthroat. Then I'll grab this peacock again. And you could do this in 2 sections if you wanted. Okay. You could tie in another clump of peacock herl if you want right there, but whatever you want to do with it. All right, there's the body material. Or the body material.
Just
there
like
is the body of the fly, except for the tail. Now I'll take a small section of this white calf tail. I'll get rid of that under fur, and we'll give it a quick stack. This under wing, I'm doing this wrong. That's the overwing. I'll grab this deer hair first, because the reason for that white calf tail is so you can see it. The deer hair becomes the underwing.
Well, you got it all ready to go now.
It is. It's all ready. Give that a quick tap. I'll make that about half the length of the tail assembly. Just lay it on there, do a quick measure. And I'm going to cut that off fairly close, bind it down. I'm not going to let go because it would spin on me if I did. Come forward. Now I know it's all bound down. Then I'm going to lay this white right over the top of that.
Okay.
Again, cinch it down. Soft loop, pull, soft loop, pull. And that way you can see that white. Now another way you can vary this fly is you can tie a piece of real bright poly on there, some red poly yarn in place of that white calf tail, or green or orange or whatever, depending on how you're fishing it and light conditions. Sometimes you can see it easier than you can see that
the white.
And then I'll grab a hackle, strip off some of that, leave a bare stem. And this is where you and I vary. Again, it just proves that you can tie a fly a lot of different ways and the finished product is going to look about the same. And then just hackle the fly. And you know, if you wanted, you can also mix grizzly hackle with this. You can have it all brown. You could have it all grizzly if you wanted.
Also, yeah.
Sure. But it is a very high floating fly with the hackle. I mean, there isn't any body material there of any kind that's going to weight it down. So there, that's all wrapped in. Clip that hackle off. I grab all that and move it out of the way. Build a small head. We'll put a whip finish on it. And that's a Royal Coyote.
So how would you fit? Do you use this on streams?
Use this on streams. Use it on streams. I don't fish it as a real rough water fly. I like to fish it kind of straight up from me, maybe a little bit quarter out, and fish it coming down to me. Put a little bit of head seam on there. Now, there's a Royal Coyote. Has a golden pheasant tippet tail. The body section is peacock curl, front and rear with a red center. Underwing is deer hair, which also helps that fly float. Overwing is white calf tail, brown hackle. And now for our next fly, Carolyn will tie a damsel fly nymph. I'm sure you use it mostly in lakes.
Right, lake fishing.
Or slow streams. And you will use what?
Materials for this fly, we're going to use about number 8 streamer hook, and we've smashed the barb down here. We have a medium olive eyes. We have green marabou. We're using a very small chenille. And for the overcase, we're using pheasant feather, and then 6/0 thread. Okay.
Now on the eye, is that a barbell eye that you're weighing it with, or is it
They're
plastic?
just plastic,
Oh,
yeah, they're plastic eyes.
So it's mostly just for show. To look like it has eyes is what you're doing.
Well, that's my hope.
Okay, okay. Well, I didn't
To
know
make
if
it look
was
like it has eyes.
for weight or not. Because
No, they're
a lot,
not weighted.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so we're going to dress this hook like we normally do. Going to bring that thread back up to the front. We're going to tie these eyes on first. Okay. You want to make sure you leave yourself enough room to finish off the fly. So we're going to center these guys up.
In front of the eye, you
Right.
mean?
Going to do a bunch of figure 8s on this guy.
You ever been in a damselfly hatch?
Yeah, a couple times.
Oh, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's cool. Get this guy centered up here a little bit. Okay, he's pretty well centered. Now we're going to go ahead and put a real good coat of glue on him here. Okay. We're going to take our thread and head back here towards the end. We're going to tie on our tail. And we're using an olive marabou.
So it'll breathe and have motion in the water.
So
You know,
we'll peel off a pretty good chunk here.
good marabou's hard to find.
I don't know, is this good stuff or bad stuff? This looks like pretty good stuff.
It does.
Okay.
But it looks so alive all the time as
Yeah,
it goes
yeah.
through the water. And that's the breathe or swimming motion of a damselfly.
That's the motion you want. Okay, so we got a green tail on here. Let's trim this down. This is a very, very effective fly in our lakes in this area. So.
I'll bet.
Okay, this is a very small diameter.
And you know, there's a lot of damselfly patterns out there.
Yeah.
Lots
Oh,
and
yeah.
lots and lots.
But this is my favorite right here. Okay, we're going to take our thread back up to about 2/3 the way up. We're going to go ahead and lay our chenille down.
You know, I didn't used to think that eyes on these flies were beneficial for much, but I'm really starting to change my mind on that over the last few years.
I think it's the silhouette more than anything, don't you?
I do too. I
Yeah.
think sometimes maybe the fish will key on those eyes,
Yeah.
even though they're small.
Okay, right here we're going to go ahead and tie this off, and we're going to take a pinch off of our pheasant tail here. We're going to tie this right in here behind. Let me get this chenille
Does this
here
become
on.
a wing case?
This becomes a wing case.
Ah.
Get this out of the way. We're going to tie this right in here.
But you could even use turkey for that if you wanted,
Turkey,
couldn't you?
boy, you could use a lot of
Lots
different
things.
types
Sure, I'll
of,
bet you
of
could.
material.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we're going to bring our thread back up here in front of our eyes. We're going to go ahead and finish tying off our little chenille. And I build this up at this point just a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to take a couple wraps around our eyes,
Crisscross them,
crisscross them. Okay,
or figure eight it, I guess.
figure
they
eight
call
them,
it.
yeah. Make sure you got it covered on the bottom and the top. We're going to take a couple wraps here in the front.
Well, that does make that head look bigger, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
we want to
head
build that
area.
up a little bit. And then we're going to trim this off. And now we're going to take our pheasant tail and just pull this right up between the eyes.
Oh, that's neat.
Okay? And grab, make sure you get the eye of the hook here.
Yeah.
Missed it the first time. Okay.
And you can still see the eyes.
Yep, you still see the
Oh,
eyes, and now
that's
you have a
neat.
nice
Yeah,
little
I
case
like
over
that.
it. Okay, a few wraps, and then we're going to trim this off.
Build ahead.
And build ahead and finish him off.
That is a really simple little damselfly.
Yeah.
Do you weight it? Do you ever weight
You
it?
can weight these, depending on how you want to fish, sinking line or just a floating line with a weighted fly.
If you
There you
weighted
have.
it in the front, it would constantly dive as you pulled it
you
down.
could do that.
That'd be neat.
This pattern, you can also tie this in a smaller pattern.
Smaller sizes,
Right,
you mean? Mm-hmm.
There you go, damsel.
Neat fly. Neat fly. So tell us what's in it.
Okay, what we have in it was about a number 8 streamer hook. We've got green marabou for the tail. We have a very small chenille for the body. We have a pheasant tail for the overcasing, and we have a medium-sized mono olive eyes.
You know, you could even use dumbbell eyes for that, I'll bet.
You could weight those.
I'll
up
bet
with it,
you
yeah.
could with that.
Would work also.
Neat fly.
Okay, for our last fly, Leroy's going to tie a bunny spey. This is a steelhead fly,
Steelhead
right?
fly. Yes, it is.
Okay, what are we using for
All
materials?
right, I have a size 4 heavy wire steelhead hook laying out. Now, I have tied these all the way up to a 2/0, depending on the water temperature and so on. But tonight we'll tie it on 4. I have a standard 6/0. This may be 8, either 6 or 8, black. The body will be a black silver, black, a shiny body material with a rib of gold. This gold happens to be a weighted material. There is lead substitute wire inside that gold braid. The tail and back assembly will be rabbit hair, or therefore the name bunny spey. And then we'll have black and orange for the hackle. Now, I have this size 4 hook in the vise. And like I say, I have tied these a lot in size 1s, 2/0s.
Is this your favorite size? This size right here?
I've caught a lot of fish on it. Favorite?
Okay.
I don't know if you would actually call it a favorite. Yeah, I carry several of them with me.
Okay.
I've also tied it in purple, any of that. Now what I'm going to do is take a quick measurement. You don't want this tail excessively long, otherwise you may get, and steelhead don't normally short strike, but I don't want a whole lot of that body material sticking out behind.
So what have you got there? Probably twice
Yeah,
the
and I
length.
may cut some of that off before I'm all done.
Okay.
Now what I'm going to do is fold all of this ahead, lick my fingers so it'll work a little better, fold all of this ahead and capture this here at the rear of the hook. And I'm going to take several wraps here to make sure it's all bound down good. I'll get my thread now in front of that hair. I'm going to go in there and take just a couple more. I don't want that rotating on the hook. Then I'll take this braid. It's a black, kind of like a diamond braid.
Wow, I haven't seen that.
Very, very shiny.
Yeah.
I have also tied the fly with just black wool yarn.
That comes in different colors?
It does. Comes in a multitude of colors. And then I'll take some of this weighted gold.
This I haven't used either.
This comes it comes in silver also with this. It gives that fly just a little bit extra weight. Not that I'm looking for a whole lot of weight with it, but sometimes that bunny, it captures so much air.
It floats.
It doesn't, it doesn't sink real well. So I'll get all that bound down, and I don't want to get up here too close to the eye because I have to fold that bunny over, and I have to put hackle in there yet. So here comes the gold or the black braid.
And that's a flat braid.
It is flat.
Okay.
And it gives a lot of shine, of which I really do like.
That's a cool material. I like that.
And then here we come forward, and I'm just overlapping it slightly. Tie it down. And I looked, and this is an 8/0 thread, so I'm having to be pretty careful I don't pull too hard here.
So that's a pretty sparse body. You haven't built it up
too
much at all.
No, it's fairly thin.
All right.
And then here comes the rib, and you can see how that gold just really sets off that black body. Tie this one down. I really like this. I use either silver or gold on almost all of my steelhead flies, almost all of them.
In the weighted?
No, doesn't matter if it's weighted or not. If I want to weight that, I'll coat that whole hook shank with lead wire.
Okay.
Now I'll put if I can find a real fluffy one, as you call them, fluffy.
Fluffy, yeah, fluffy.
If I can find an orange feather, and
Get rid of the fuzzies.
I always put the orange or the opposite color in first, and then let the predominant color, which is black,
so you have a little break?
Be in front, yes. Oh, a wrap and a half maybe, and see how it streams back to the rear. I'll capture it here. Several wraps.
So you tie this on before you pull your
Yes, I do.
rabbit over,
Yes, I
okay.
do. Then I'm going to wrap back over that just slightly to kind
So
of
it
fold
lays
it
it
all
back.
to the back.
Okay.
Then a black, again, if I can find one that's on the fuzzy side. And I would like, and I didn't sort through this enough, I maybe should have looked through there more, I would like to find a black hackle that's slightly longer than the orange one I just put in. But we'll see if it comes out that way or not. Maybe I lucked out. Going to be pretty close. And again, a wrap and a half, 2 wraps, because all this is a window dressing for that fly, just to kind of mirror or halo that body as it goes through the water. Again, I'm going to wrap back over that slightly.
Okay.
Then here comes the bunny. Now, I'm going to cut this at a point. I'll just come right in here and cut this to a point like that. What that's going to do is give me, and it's still too long, so I'll come in and cut it some more. It's going to give me that point is then going to give me more of an opportunity to tie it down by the point instead of tying in all of that. Do you ever have that stuff just stick to you?
Once your fingers are wet.
Do you know why that sticks to you? It's static electricity.
Yeah.
Do you know how to solve that?
Nope.
Again, I learned this a long time ago. Get a sheet of bounce like you use in your washer. Dryer, I mean.
Okay.
Rub it on your hands, rub it on the hair, and it'll stop
stops
that.
it.
Stop that whole thing. Now I'm going to pull that slightly forward, giving it a little bit of pressure, and then bind it down. Now I'll cover
So you
that
pulled
whole.
that right over the top of your hackle.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Then I'll build a head here.
I know some guys trim those off.
Trim what off?
Trim the top.
Oh, top of the
off
hackle?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've never found it necessary to. And then I'll put a whip finish on it. Now with all of my steelhead flies, I always put 2 coats of head cement. My trout flies, if I'm fishing them for myself, I very seldom head cement them. Very seldom. Steelhead flies, I always do.
Yeah, I usually put a
If I'm
flex
tying,
glue,
if I'm tying
finish the head.
a trout fly commercially, I head cement them all. I'm not sure it's all that necessary, but I got to kind of, you know, as a commercial tyer, you catch the fisherman before you catch the fish.
It's got to look pretty.
It does, or people won't buy it. And that's a bunny spey
Okay, now how do
Now
you
we-
use this fly?
on the end of your leader.
No, no, no. How do you fish this fly?
Well, I
Into your
quarter
leader.
them. I quarter them down.
Okay.
I'll cast, quarter down, mend, and let it swing.
Now, are you
Let it swing.
fishing sinking line?
Yes. Or you can earlier in the year. You can fish this on a floating line.
So early season.
Absolutely, and do very, very well with it. Very well with a floating line. But you can see the orange. Again, you asked me, do I trim the top? No, I don't, because you see how that mirrors where that bunny is pulled over the top? It forces them down to the bottom, and it just halos that whole top section more. But it's a very, very active fly in the water. Everything on that bunny moves constantly. It breathes. The bad thing about using bunny, and I've gone to this, I went to this fly probably, 2 years ago. I started playing with it at least 2 years ago. I used to use a bunny leech where you have the bunny tail and then you wrap the entire body
Yeah, I've
with
seen that
bunny.
pattern,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it captures so much air, it's very difficult to sink the
to
fly.
sink it.
Even with barbell eyes, if you don't get an extremely large barbell eye on there, the fly will still float right side up instead of turning upside down like barbell eyes are supposed to make it do. So I've gone to this one with that slimmer body, with that slightly weighted rib. It will take that fly down enough to do it really well. I also will fish this fly depending on the water temperature and depth and speed. Many times I'll put it on a sink 6, a type 6 sinking sink tip, and bounce along the bottom, again, depending on the water temperature.
And you can also change colors, right?
I've tied them purple. Purple and black have been my
Red.
2 predominant. But that's a bunny spey. It is a bunny, strip of bunny hair and right on the skin, on the tail and the back. It has a black braid and a gold rib, orange and black hackle, and of course the black thread. Well, that's another show. We've had a good time doing it. We have tied a royal coyote, we tied a damsel fly nymph, and we tied a steelhead fly, the bunny spey. Again, a wide variety of flies. Will do many, many things. Fish that royal coyote for cutthroat.
Right.
Unbelievable fly. Try this bunny spey for steelhead if you're a steelhead fisherman. But don't overlook that damsel fly for legs. Damsel flies at times can be the #1 fly in a lake without exception. So don't give up on those. Enjoy. Please come back again next week. We'll have more patterns for you. Thank you.
LeRoy and Carolyn have produced a 60-minute video demonstrating how to tie 10 of their favorite flies, available on DVD number 28 for $18.95 plus shipping and handling. Programs from this series are also available on DVD. Each disc contains 2 programs and costs $18.95 plus shipping and handling. Please indicate disc number 23 for this episode. You can get the complete series of 13 programs for $89.95. Credit cards are accepted. To order, call 1-800-883-0124 or visit our website, kwsu.org. For more information about this program, please visit our website, kwsu.org.